Hi, and welcome to Strictly Salina. I'm your host, Carol Bell, filling in for Ann Knowles. Strictly Salina is a program that highlights nonprofit organizations in our area. If you would like to be on Strictly Salina, please give us a call at 785-823-2500. Again, that's 823-2500. So joining me today is Gerrett Morris
Gerrett Morris, yes.
From the Rolling Hills Zoo, and we're very glad to have you back.
Thanks, it's great to be back.
And so tell us what you do there.
So I'm the horticulturalist, the zoological horticulture. So just a quick background real quick. You know, when we think back when we were children or something, I remember looking at our zoo books and stuff and all the bars and concrete we used to see in the zoos, kind of what made, like 20s, 30s, 40s,
Right.
started thinking about that. Sometime in the 80s, people started wanting to take out that concrete look, wanting to take out the bars and all that hard stuff, and soften it up a lot with some horticulture. So the first things we started seeing, and there was grass. We still had the concrete grottos in the backgrounds and all that, but at least we were starting to get some soil or some grass, things like that. Started adding trees, and then as the designs progressed and got better, and maybe budgets got to be better too, started pushing kind of the buildings in the back a little bit more, kind of hiding the fences better, and then the horticulture even then left the exhibits and just kind of blend together. The goal is really kind of to try to hide that part and give the guests that experience of maybe what it would look like to look at some white rhinos on the African plains, or some kangaroos in Australia. So that's a lot of what I try to do. I try to help theme the exhibits as we're working on them, and then also a lot of my job is maintenance, some landscape design. Keeping the landscape in check and stuff like that.
And you have a big background in that, I hear.
I've just last week had my 19-year anniversary of being at the zoo.
Wow!
And
congratulations.
so thank you. It's a wonderful place to work after all these years. It's always new. There's always something different. It's not just the 50-some people that work there that are fun and engaging, but all the animals too. They all have personalities. They all like to see you when you run up, and the animals get to know park guests. A lot of our regulars that come out and walk in the mornings and stuff like that, the animals get to know them.
Yeah.
And it's just I couldn't ask for anything better right now.
Yeah. What a fun job. Very good.
Yeah.
So you've gotten bees now.
Bees, that's right.
Are they honeybees? What kind of bees are they?
Honeybees, that's right. So last time I was in, I kind of teased Dan with a little bit about what we had going on. Honeybees are something that I've been reading about for a long time. When you're landscape, you're thinking about design, you're thinking about all this stuff. Pollination is something that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the agricultural world or whatever, anything doing with plants, flowers, growing food, and that we depend on pollinators. And so one thing that was interesting that I learned some time back is that, did you know that honeybees aren't native to North America?
No.
They were brought over with some of the earlier settlers.
Oh, wow.
And the settlers had them early because they harvested honey from them, and they also used them to pollinate crops back then too. So they figured if they were coming to the New World, might as well bring the honey with you, right?
Yeah.
So that was something that was interesting. So I'm a member of AZH, which is the Association of Zoological Horticulture.
Okay.
And we had a very, very dear member, Wendy Andrew, who had passed away a few years ago. And to honor her and all the service that she had done at her institution, but also with the association, we named a grant after her, and it's the Wendy Andrew Cultivation Grant.
Very good.
And so Linda out at the zoo helped us apply for it. We submitted it, and we got a grant to bring bees back.
That's fantastic.
And so that's what we titled it, to Bringing Bees Back. So we worked with, in partnership with a nursery in Manhattan, Blueville Nursery. Keith Westerveld over there is a seasoned beekeeper, and he was the one that was really sort of pushed me those last couple of years that we got to get this done for you. We got to get it done. So we were able to get that through, and then last April we set up our beehives, 2 of them. And so the way that works is you order your hives, and you get those in, get them set, but then you have to order your bees separately.
Okay.
And then so they will come out of they're sourced out of many different places. I believe our bees came out of the Pacific Northwest. So what you do, you buy a nuke, and it means nucleus.
Okay.
So it's just you're buying the queen bee, and then you're buying just a smaller colony of bees to go with her. So you have some worker bees and drone bees and stuff like that. Okay. So it's a much smaller. Basically, we're in a box of bees.
I see.
And so when it's time, you get your bees, you take them out to the hive, and you open the lid, and everybody can kind of picture in their head what the beehives look like. There's many boxes. So what we have is on the very bottom box that sits on a frame on the ground is called a brood box, okay. And that's where we're putting the bees. And so we start with one box on the bottom, and it's got frames in it, and the frames are what the bees will build their comb on, build some honey on, or make some honey on, but they'll also, on that comb, the queen will lay eggs,
okay.
And they'll start raising brood that way.
I see.
Oftentimes you'll see a second box on top of that. When you have a new bee colony, especially in the springtime, you'll want to feed your bees to start with. So that second box you see is empty, except for it does have some sort of a sugar water feeder
okay.
in it. And then the bees can come up and they can drink. And, in March and April in Kansas, there's not a lot of flowers blooming at the time. And they're new, so they don't know where to go yet. So we give them some time to get adjusted and set in there. And immediately, the worker bees will go in there and they'll start building some comb, or the cleaning. They're actually cleaning, and then as the bees are going out, other bees are going out and exploring the environment, trying to find the pollen, bringing that back. They'll deliver it. They'll deliver the pollen and nectar to other bees, and then they'll process it.
I see.
And then they'll start building the combs with it.
So what kind of training did you have to take care of the bees? Or
it was great because since we were working so close with Keith, Keith was so great at coming over and helping us. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I talked to a lot of beekeepers that I know in town, and surprisingly, there are a lot of beekeepers in Salina. And if anybody's interested in getting started in bees, you don't have to go very far to find them. And if anybody wants a list of that, they can contact me at the zoo, and I can help get them set up.
That would be fantastic, yeah. So tell me more about the bees. That's just so interesting to me.
Yeah, so so the bees will go out and they'll fly to anywhere between 3 and 5 miles,
okay.
looking for flowers. So what they're doing is they're finding the pollen, they're bringing it back, they're giving them to another set of bees, the worker bees, that will then process it. And like I said, they'll start building the comb. Okay. The queen, who has the ability to, she can fertilize an egg or not fertilize an egg. So when she goes out and gets bred, she can bring the sperm back with her, and then when she goes to lay, if she needs worker bees, she'll fertilize the eggs.
Oh.
If she needs drone bees, she won't fertilize them. Okay. So that determines what that bee will be.
Right.
So and so she knows what they need, and that's how she'll do it. I think she could lay up to 2,000 eggs a day.
Wow.
So they're busy, they're building, and then so the bee will, the queen will lay the egg, and then the egg will hatch into larvae. And when the larvae is still inside the comb, it will molt several times, or pupate, So then once it hatches, it will come out as either a worker bee, drone bee, whatever it's supposed to, whatever its job's gonna be.
Okay, so when you let the bees out, I have no idea about this, but when you let the bees out, do they go outside of the zoo?
They very well could.
And then how do you know that they come back?
Well, so when the bees come in, they on their own spend some time just staying around, and they're it's not known for sure, or at least I haven't found the answer to this. Are they setting their own personal GPS to the hive, right. Or what exactly are they doing? And then I'm sure they start out, just little exploration trips at a time.
Yeah.
But their range is amazing, and so we have to as beekeepers, you have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Because you can only control what's going on your property.
Right.
You can't control what's going on within a 3 to 5 mile radius.
So speaking of that, what are some of the things that the public can do to help protect things like the bees?
Yeah, so if you're really interested in protecting the bees, you don't want to set a beehive up in your backyard or anything like that, just be mindful of your yard, of your surroundings, your environment. Do you need to take all your pesticide and herbicides out to spray everything all the time? You know, you got a back fence line. Do you need to run Roundup on it, or get a nice string trimmer and just trim it down instead?
Yeah.
You know, if you get into a situation you feel like, you know, these have really gotten away and I do need some herbicides out here, you can watch the weeds. Make sure they're not flowering at the time. The bees are interested in the flowers.
Right.
So if you don't have any, you know, a lot of times back in your back lot you'll get a lot of the sunflowers, or, you know, they get those nice big pretty flowers on them. The bees love that.
Yeah.
But if you don't plant them there and you don't want them there, you harvest them some other way other than just
Right.
spraying them with some Roundup.
Yeah, those are good tips.
Yep. And then the other thing is just plant plenty of flowers, and be thinking about the whole season. You know, you hear a lot of people, and I don't let dandelions in my yard just run rampant. But you know, you hear a lot of people say, well, don't kill your dandelions because that's the first flower. Well, if you don't want dandelions overrunning your yard, look at other plants that could. You know, look at all the spring bulbs, anything that might bloom really early. Plant those, and give them something. Give the bees something to find early. Also, you know, you can go into your local store. I know one of the local stores here in town has sugar water that you can buy. I know people will go out there and get a little shallow tray, like an old maybe pot tray, fill it with some pebbles, rocks, marbles, or something, and then pour some sugar water in there. Again, you only need to do that early in the spring or late in the fall, when there's not a lot of flowers out there blooming.
Very good. Well, thank you so much
you're
for
welcome.
being
Thanks
here
for
with
having me
us
again.
today. I really enjoyed it, and I learned so much.
Awesome.
So thank you for joining us for this edition of Strictly Salina.